Rizz isn't a personality trait. It's not something you're born with, and it's not luck. It's a small set of learnable behaviors dressed up as a mystery. And the mystery is the whole marketing plan. You've watched it happen. Someone walks into a room, says almost nothing memorable, and somehow leaves with everyone's number. Meanwhile, you rehearsed an opener in the mirror and still froze. Online, Rizz gets treated like a stat you either rolled high on or didn't, a fixed trait like height. That framing is everywhere, and it's exactly backwards. The people who seem to have it aren't running on instinct. They're running a small, repeatable set of behaviors, and once you see the pattern, the magic stops looking like magic. The mechanism. Charisma researchers have studied this for decades under a less viral name, social fluency. And the consistent finding is that what reads as naturally charming is almost always a handful of specific, observable behaviors, not some innate aura. Here's what's actually doing the work. First, attention, not lines. The biggest myth about flirting is that it's about what you say. Communication researchers have consistently found that the content of an opener matters far less than the attention behind it. Eye contact that doesn't dart away. A response that clearly reacts to what the other person just said instead of steering back to a rehearsed script. A mediocre opener delivered with full attention outperforms a clever line delivered while scanning the room for a better option, because the other person can feel which one is happening to them. Second, calibrated confidence, not loudness. People conflate charisma with volume. The loudest person in the group must be the most magnetic. Actual research on perceived confidence points somewhere more specific. It's about steadiness under a mildly awkward moment, not decibels. Someone who can sit through a pause without rushing to fill it, or take a joke that doesn't land without visibly flinching, reads as more confident than someone performing enthusiasm at full volume the entire time. The nervous system, not the volume knob, is what people are actually reading. Third, light teasing over compliments. This is the part that surprises people. Straightforward compliments feel safe to give, but they're low information. They signal effort, not judgment. Playful teasing, done gently, signals something compliments can't, that you've actually paid enough attention to notice something specific, and that you're comfortable enough not to need to flatter your way into approval. Psychologists who study attraction describe mild, warm teasing as a stronger signal of confidence and interest than direct praise, precisely because it carries risk, it can land wrong, and pulling it off anyway is evidence of social calibration. Fourth, scarcity of investment, not scarcity of interest. The oldest flirting advice, don't seem too eager, gets misapplied constantly as act like you don't care. That's not what's actually effective. The version that works is being genuinely engaged in the conversation while not over-investing in the outcome. Interested in the person in front of you, not attached to whether this specific interaction becomes something more. That distinction is subtle, but it's what separates someone who seems confident from someone who seems needy while performing disinterest, which people can usually tell apart within about 30 seconds. The turn and reveal. Here's what turns this from a dating tip into something bigger. None of these four things are romance-specific. Full attention, calibrated composure, earned playfulness, and low-stakes engagement are the exact same behaviors that make someone effective in a job interview, a sales pitch, or a first meeting with a new team. That's not a coincidence. Rizz, charisma, likability, whatever label a given generation puts on it, has always described the same underlying skill, making another person feel accurately seen in a short window of time. The dating app version got a viral name because attraction is high stakes and visible in a way a good interview isn't as fun to talk about. But the mechanism being marketed as a secret dating cheat code is really just social skill, repackaged for an audience that assumed it wasn't a skill at all. Which raises the actual problem with treating Rizz as a fixed trait. It tells people who struggle socially that the door is locked, when the truth is closer to the opposite. This is one of the more trainable things about how people relate to each other, precisely because it's a small set of specific behaviors and not a personality type you either have or don't. Protection and payoff. You don't need a persona overhaul. You need to practice four specific, small things. Practice staying with what someone just said before moving to your next thought, literally referencing their last sentence before you respond. That single habit does more for how present you seem than any opening line ever will. Practice sitting in a small silence without rushing to fix it. Let a pause exist for a second longer than feels comfortable. That tolerance is trainable, and it's one of the fastest ways to read as calm instead of eager. Practice noticing one specific, true thing about the person in front of you and saying it lightly instead of as a formal compliment. The specificity is what makes it land, not the flattery. And separate how you show up from what you need to happen next. You can be fully engaged in a conversation without needing it to end a certain way. That's not indifference. It's what actual low-pressure interest looks like from the outside. So, Rizz was never really a secret. It's attention that doesn't wander, composure under a small, awkward moment, playfulness that takes a little risk, and interest that doesn't come with strings attached. None of that requires being a different person. It requires practicing four specific habits until they stop feeling like a performance. Which one of these four do you think you're missing? Tell me in the comments and subscribe. We break down a pattern like this every week.